Imagine waking up in ancient Rome. The air is thick with the scent of oil lamps, distant bakery smoke, and the murmurs of a city already alive. You walk to the basin, ready to cleanse your face, to prepare for the day, and then you reach for a ceramic container. Not with mint leaves, not with herbs, but with stale, fermented human urine. Urine, not to throw away, not to scrub floors with, but to pour into your mouth, to swish, to gargle, to clean. This was not a punishment, not a joke, not a mistake. This was hygiene. For the ancient Romans, urine was not seen as waste. It was a substance of surprising power. A tool, a cleaner, a teeth whitener, a deodorizer, a business. This is the story of how one of the most advanced civilizations in history, the creators of aqueducts, roads, and concrete, also believed that the best way to keep your smile shining was to rinse it in pee. And no, this isn't exaggerated. No, this isn't myth. It's real. And it gets weirder. Ancient Rome was a society obsessed with cleanliness. Obsession isn't too strong a word. They bathed regularly, often daily. They built enormous public bathhouses, free for most citizens. These weren't simple tubs. They were architectural masterpieces, with hot rooms, cold plunges, steam chambers, massage tables, and more. But here's the twist. They didn't have soap as we know it. They had oil, scrapers, and they had urine. Urine contains ammonia, a powerful compound that breaks down grime, fats, and bacteria. Modern science tells us ammonia is a top-tier cleaner. The Romans didn't understand chemistry on a molecular level, but they understood results. If it worked, it stayed. And urine worked. Urine found its way into the most intimate corners of Roman life. Into homes, into bathhouses, into laundry, into beauty routines, and yes, into mouths. You see, back then, dental hygiene was a serious concern. There were no toothbrushes like we have today. No paste, no floss. But there was an answer: urine. The ammonia in fermented urine helped remove stains and whiten teeth. It killed some bacteria. And Romans, who highly valued appearance and presentation, leaned into this method with surprising enthusiasm. Not only did they use it, they paid for it. They imported it. Urine from Spain and Portugal was especially prized. People believed the warmer climate created a stronger, more potent liquid. In fact, it was considered a luxury item in some circles, the ancient equivalent of buying foreign toothpaste at a premium. Imagine that, paying extra to swish someone else's aged urine in your mouth. We know this practice wasn't fringe because Roman authors and poets wrote about it. They joked about it. They mocked it. But they confirmed it. One of the most vivid references comes from the poet Catullus. In a blistering insult to a man named Ignatius, Catullus writes, and I quote loosely, "Ignatius smiles all the time. In court, in grief, even at funerals, he grins. But because he whitens his teeth with Spanish piss." This wasn't just poetic license. It was an open secret. People used it, and people judged it. There were fullers, professional cleaners, who ran what we might call pee businesses. They'd collect urine from public toilets. These weren't porcelain bathrooms, of course. They were stone basins on the side of roads. People would relieve themselves, and the contents were gathered by laborers. They'd ferment it, age it, bottle it, and sell it. If you had money, you could afford imported urine. If not, you used local stuff. Either way, the ritual remained the same. Pour, rinse, spit. Sometimes even swallow a bit. They thought it helped the breath. But it didn't stop at dental hygiene. Urine was used for laundry. Tunics and togas were stomped in vats of pee. Yes, workers would get inside the tubs barefoot and stomp clothes like grapes. The ammonia cut through the oils, the sweat, the stains. It was effective. Smelly but effective. You might wonder, didn't they know how disgusting this was? But they didn't view it that way. Not entirely. To them, cleanliness wasn't about scent. It was about visible purity. Bright white teeth, white robes, smooth skin. What it took to achieve that didn't matter as much as the outcome. And so, the empire built a system around it. In fact, the Roman government taxed it. Emperor Vespasian introduced the vectigal urine, a urine tax. Public urinals became sources of state revenue. Collectors sold what was gathered to fullers and hygiene suppliers. The emperor profited, and the practice became institutionalized. When his son Titus criticized the policy, Vespasian gave him a lesson. He held a coin from the tax to his nose and asked, "Does it smell?" Titus replied, "No." Vespasian said, "Then money doesn't stink." That phrase, pecunia non olet, is still used today. And in ancient Rome, it was literal truth. Urine made money, and for many, it made smiles whiter. But of course, not everyone approved. The practice became a target for satire. Writers mocked those with bright teeth. "You must have rinsed with a full barrel this morning," they'd sneer. People with unusually white teeth were accused of being vain, extreme, or even low class, depending on context. But the irony? The wealthy did it too. Beauty was universal. And in Rome, a sparkling smile meant power. It meant charm. It meant success. And urine, like perfume, like oils, like jewels, was a tool of transformation. It wasn't always about logic. It was about appearance. That might sound ridiculous until we realize how little has changed. Today, people inject Botox, a toxin. They undergo surgeries. They bleach their teeth with chemicals. We put acid peels on our faces. We wear synthetic materials, apply heavy metals in makeup, and consume strange supplements for health. Our tools are modern, but the logic is Roman. Use what works, even if it stinks, even if it costs, even if it shocks. There's something strangely admirable about that mindset. The Romans weren't bound by squeamishness. They found value where others saw waste. They made use of every element of the body. Nothing was useless. Everything had purpose. And that included urine. This isn't just a trivia fact. It's a lens into Roman psychology, into Roman culture. It tells us how they viewed the body, with practicality, with discipline, with creativity. Roman bathhouses were not just cleaning stations, they were cultural hubs. Men and women reclined in hot pools. They were scraped, oiled, massaged, scented. And they talked about politics, about poetry, about fashion, about who used imported pee and who used local. It was gossip. It was branding. It was Roman. And let's not forget, these were some of the most advanced people in the ancient world. They built aqueducts that carried water for miles. They designed cities with sewage systems. They mapped stars, developed surgery, and wrote laws still studied today. Yet even they gargled urine. That contrast is jarring, brilliant and bizarre. But that's what makes it unforgettable. It's why this story still shocks today. Because it reminds us that history is full of contradictions. Of genius mixed with absurdity. Of progress paired with discomfort. We like to believe we're so different. But are we? So the next time you brush your teeth, take a moment. Reflect on that cool mint flavor. On that soft bristle. On that fluoride boost. And remember, it could have been worse. Because in Rome, the road to cleanliness started with a jar of pee.